Hey everybody, it's JD. Just want to give you a heads up. We have some audio issues on my side of the recording this week. Some by audio issues, I mean I was an idiot and I plugged in the wrong microphone. And I promise I will be smarter in the future. Maybe that guy was right. Maybe we should have somebody QC these deliverables. Anyway, hope you enjoy the show. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. Sorry we're a week late. My name's JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle, and I refuse to apologize. That's the first thing that I say on this podcast. If you don't like it, tune into something else. Actually, don't stay. Please come back there on. That's fine.
Yeah, life got in the way of our regular episode last week, and that's going to happen sometimes. Always choose your own mental health over just about everything. I not even just about. Always choose your own well-being over everything.
Yeah, you might think, JD, that's the way to go.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, we would prove you wrong.
But super excited. This is our 350th episode. That's super cool. We just recently celebrated our 4th birthday, our 4-year anniversary. We have kicked off year 5, Michelle. Year 5, episode 1, the Mortuary Assistant. How the fuck did we get here?
1 year closer to death.
1 year further from life, I think, is the positive spin to put on it. 1 year further from life.
I am going to live after I die, so...
Are you?
Maybe for you... Yeah, I'm going to be a ghost. Oh, that counts as living. I'm going to be living it up as a ghost.
Man, if I look, I'm dog shit terrified of the concept of my own death, but if I got to keep living even after I die, fuck that.
Oh, I love it. If I can interact with, like, movies and video games. We've talked about this. I've talked about it so much on this podcast. I'm hoping I'm manifesting it into the ether, and that will become my reality. My tulpa is that I become a ghost when I die.
Your what?
My tulpa.
What's a tulpa?
I know a thing you don't? Oh, man. A tulpa, now I'm probably going to say it wrong, and somebody out there is going to get real angry, but a tulpa is a thing that you believe in so hard that it becomes real. Oh. So, like, Sasquatch, for example, could have begun as a thought and then actually became a reality because enough people believed in Bigfoot. There's a comic I really like called The Department of Truth that is all about this American entity or organization that is putting things out there and like fake the moon landing so hard that it became a reality. They recorded it, but then that was the reality that they had been on the moon. And it's all about how they made the satanic panic situation happen, but then it happened so hard that a satanic woman was created. It's beautiful artwork, and I really like it.
Okay, so this is like an openly fictional comic book thing. This isn't like a thing people really believe.
Oh, this is a fictional comic book.
Okay.
Unless
for a minute I was like,
we believe in it so hard that it becomes reality.
Well,
I don't want to get into some of the stuff that happens, but God, it's a good comic series.
My response initially that I was building up to was, oh, so it's just sparkling bullshit.
Yeah. It is beautiful artwork. So yeah, sparkling bullshit.
It just took me a moment to catch on that this was a fictional concept.
Well, I said comic book. I very rarely mean a nonfiction comic book.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, when you just first started talking about the tulpa, I was like, wait, is she...
Oh, the tulpa's a real thing. That didn't come from the Department of Truth. The Department of Truth is a comic book based on tulpas, but tulpas are a real belief.
So it is
I believe in tulpas so hard that tulpas became reality so that I can think of tulpas like Bigfoot, and Bigfoot will become a reality. You just gotta manifest it, JD. I'm manifesting. I'm believing so hard that I'm gonna be a millionaire that I guess the trick is you have to get enough other people to believe alongside with you. And that's the part I'm working on. But if I can make that happen, I'm gonna have so much money. And a Sasquatch.
Can I ask you a somewhat personal question, Michelle, before we get into this movie?
On this podcast, talking about personal things that we should maybe keep locked inside forever? Never.
Well,
Okay, what's up?
my question is just, what fucking drugs are you on?
I actually had to refill my drugs today, and I am on all the boring ones. One of them is very sweet, and I don't like taking it. It's an amphetamine.
It was,
And
well,
it tastes, it's really
you
sweet.
definitely
It's really
sound
gross.
like you might be tweaking, is all I'm trying to say. Because
Oh, I mean, it's because
tulpas. I
that one's
believed in
because
it
of my
so
sleep
hard it
disorder.
became
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, believe it. You got to You ever hear of a spirit board? Is that what they are? No, spirit board is a Ouija board. When your like cork board that white women love to thumbtack up pictures of things that they
I know
love.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's a completely different thing, but that also totally works. That's why my cork board you can see behind me is just a bunch of necklaces. That's my vision board. That's it. Is I'm going to become a necklace someday.
Okay.
Yep.
So the mortuary assistant. You mentioned a little while ago. You said something specifically in a sentence about movies and video games, and as it turns out, that is what we're here to talk about today. The Mortuary Assistant 2026, based on a video game that I have never played. Michelle, I believe, watched somebody else play for Spookum Games Night. Is that right, Michelle? Do I remember?
Yes, I have a question.
What?
Is the idea of watching video game playthroughs a foreign thing to you, or do you ever like doing that?
No, I think just like watching like a video of somebody playing the game would not be my vibe. But what I have done, like the biggest example I always go to is when the very first Portal game came out. A friend of mine bought it and brought it home, and I just happened to stop over to see him after he got off work that day because we were going to smoke some weeds and hang out. And he started playing this game while we were smoking weeds. And if you know anything about Portal, it's really just a fancy puzzle solving game. And so we're watching it. I'm watching him play it, and then my friend Brandon came over as well. And eventually it became like a thing where we were all three actively watching the game and trying to sort out how to solve these puzzles. And then Tony was just actually at the controls making the moves that we all collectively decided on. That sort of thing I would not mind because I'm not. That's the thing about video games that really in a lot of ways keeps me away from them is I'm not good at the actual mechanical side of operating video games. But no, just watching somebody play a game I don't think would work for me.
Okay. I was curious because I know I've talked a lot on this show about how much I love Spookum Game Nights, which is where we watch my friend Brock play video games, and it's basically all of us reacting and helping solve the puzzles.
Right.
We are going through every Resident Evil game, so I think I've watched him play 3 or 4 of them completely out of order, just in whatever fucking order we want. But yes, this was one that Brock did Spookum Game Nights on. This is an excellent one to do a Spookum Game Night for because watching this alongside other people, really fun video game.
Well, and it's also, like you mentioned, Resident Evil. I don't know if, even if I was interacting with the player, I don't know if Resident Evil or that sort of game is the kind of thing I would enjoy, but this is, right? Because ultimately, this is a puzzle-solving game, and I can tell that with just seeing the movie, right? Like this is a puzzle-solving game, essentially. And so, being brought into that, I'm always anxious about a video game adaptation. I know you're definitely more, as a general rule, more open to them than I am, and I imagine that's because of your stronger connection to the games.
But it also makes me angrier when they do it wrong.
Well,
it's a double-sided coin.
Oh, are you foreshadowing something here, Michelle?
No, I'm just thinking about how I'm going to fight Christopher Gans.
Are you...
No, I have to go make sure that's his name. I think it's Christopher Gans.
Are you talking about the most recent Resident Evil film?
Yeah, what the fuck is the name of the guy who I have massive beef with? Hang on one second.
We gotta find out.
Christoph Gans. That's the director. That's the
Christoph.
guy I gotta fight.
Yeah,
Okay.
look, I don't mean to sound judgmental from the jump here, but
Yes, you do.
I feel like you can't trust somebody named Christoph.
Christoph Waltz, one of my favorite voices. I love that man's
Just
voice.
because he has a fantastic voice doesn't mean he's a trustworthy human being, Michelle. His name
That's
is
true. I've seen
Christoph.
Inglorious Bastards.
Exactly.
You got a good point.
Nobody acts
Okay.
that well.
So yes, this is just puzzles. I like a game where you have a job, and that is what this is. Like, you give me a job, I'll do it day to day. I don't even give a fuck if there's demons there. I will go to work. I will clock in. I will get a paycheck. That sounds great.
Yeah, and that style of video games, for me is the best because again it connects with my lack of fine motor skills because like as a general rule you're just kind of doing a lot of pointing and clicking. There's not a lot of running and shooting and that sort of thing, and that engages more of the fun things for me. In a video game setting, this is a movie setting.
What's funny is that some people play video games so that they can do things that they can't do in real life, such as the Spider-Man game on PS5 was great because you could swing throughout the city on your web and go fight bad guys. And you're like, I can't really fight or run in real life very well, so I don't want to do that in a video game. Instead, I want a game where I can be very observant and point out inaccuracies, such as Exit 8, which I
Michelle.
agree with. I am the same. Put me in
Michelle,
an office. Great.
I didn't say anything about I'm bad at this, so I don't want to do it in a game.
Wait, you're good at fighting?
No, that's not the point, Michelle. The reason I don't like doing it in video games is because my fine motor dexterity sucks and I'm really bad at using the controls to make the guy do the stuff I want him to do. That's
Drink
what I'm saying.
again. We watch Shudder drinking game every time I try to make a joke and JD takes it too seriously.
I'm
I
sorry.
know, I'm just such a good actor that you were like, she is being so for real right now.
It's no, I'm well. That's a part of it, and the other part of it is I'm easily fucking button pushed.
Yeah, that is true. You have a lot of buttons. You're like a old-timey phone
Okay, so
that
the
had
Mortuary
buttons.
Assistant is the movie we're
Yeah.
talking about today.
You're like a jar that my grandma kept in her kitchen that was gigantic. It was also full of buttons. It's one of
Wow.
my favorite things. It was a beautiful
Okay.
jar. Okay, continue. Continue,
Uh,
Button Man.
movie Mortuary Assistant directed by Jeremiah Kipp, who of course we've done one of his films before, which he both wrote and directed, called Slapface. That I certainly was at that time bigger on than Michelle was. Interesting thing about this one though, he didn't write this. It was actually co-written by the guy who created the game, Brian Clark, and then another first-time feature writer, Tracy Beebe, I think the name is. Michelle, did you know anything about this going in other than it was based on a video game that you had observed the playing of one time?
I think that I knew quite a bit just because this is one where I didn't avoid the spoilers like I usually would.
Okay.
Plus Jeremiah Kipp, who we're Facebook friends with,
Calm
and who I
down,
like.
Michelle.
I know I still
Name
I
dropping,
fangirl,
Jesus.
fangirl so hard. But he's been posting a lot of stuff, and I've been reading the interviews and
He's a
stuff
good
because
dude.
this one I'm like, I know what's gonna happen. Like, you're either going to do an ending that makes no fucking sense in comparison to the game and everybody's gonna be mad at you, or you're gonna do the game and I know what the game is. So, oh, I just lost the game. It's been a while. Anyway, no, been a while.
Thanks.
So yeah,
Now
I
I
knew
have
quite a bit.
two.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Any follow-up questions, or should
I
I read the
no,
description script?
I didn't know shit. I saw some clips and information about it, like right at the beginning of the year. Shudder released like a little tease about a bunch of upcoming stuff, and frankly, I in that clip there was a brief shot of what turned out to be John Adams from Adams Family, who plays one of the major characters in this movie. And he's all done up in makeup, and I wasn't even sure it was him, but it got my attention. I was like, okay. And then I went to look and see what it was all about, and I saw again that Jeremiah Kipp had directed this movie. And again, Slapface was a movie that I really fucking loved. It's kind of witchy, and you guys know if you've been listening for a while that I especially love and like a real folksy kind of witchy. Like every now and then you're like, I'm not a big fan of The Craft, which I guess it doesn't matter because it's not like for me, but it's that sort of like kind of like gothy sort of like young witch thing in kind of like a modern vibe, and I prefer it when it's a little more muddy and like a bog witch, like an old swamp lady. But really enjoyed that movie and was immediately excited about this one. But aside from that, I didn't even know Willa Holland was in this until I sat down to watch it. I mean,
did
you
not
know
know
Willa
who
Holland,
she
right?
is. No, the name sounded
Oh,
so familiar, and then I looked on IMDb and didn't recognize
I guess
anything aside from like Kingdom Hearts and like Gossip Girl, but she was only in 5 episodes, and
she
I don't remember who that
she
was,
was Speedy on Arrow. She's
which I have not
Oliver
seen.
Queen's little sister who became
Okay.
also a superhero.
That is probably why I know the name, because I have a lot of friends who watch all the superhero shows, and I don't.
All right, well,
Well,
all right. That's all we need to talk about. Let's go home.
yep,
Take a
we
drink.
are home.
Ha 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 ha.
I have been productive all day, by the way.
I
My
appreciate you.
office is destroyed,
I don't
which is
know.
my way of saying it's productive.
It looks pretty all right from here.
Ugh. All the shit that was in drawers is no longer in drawers. My drawers are all empty. There is just shit around here now. I clean very similarly to your rats, which is just I make a huge fucking mess. I throw my shavings everywhere and I go, perfect, I'm going to sleep. My office is
All
destroyed.
right. Enough about the condition of your office, Michelle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the descripty script for the
Yeah.
mortuary assistant, and you know
Yeah.
what comes after that. So here we go.
Yeah.
From the Internet Movie Database. Just gonna give you the first sentence because it's enough. Follow Rebecca Queen, a mortuary science graduate who takes a night job at River Fields Mortuary. The Mortuary Assistant, 2026. Unrated. 1 hour, 31 minutes. Michelle,
Uh-huh.
as someone familiar with the game,
Mm-hmm.
what are your spoiler-free thoughts about the Mortuary Assistant?
Well, first off, I have to say that I have been freaking out before I even saw the movie because I'm like, I'm an honest person. And I'm also Facebook friends with Jeremiah Kipp. And oh no. So I have definitely been having panic attacks even before I watched the movie. This has been a couple weeks of just like, oh no, what if I don't like it? I'm so honest. And here's what I do have to say. My complaints with this movie are not with Jeremiah Kipp. So that is good. That I don't have to attack him personally in the way that I have to fight Christoph Gans. If I see that man on the street, I'm swinging. I'm coming out swinging. How dare you? So my complaints are not with the direction. I don't know if, because I have a lot of intimate knowledge of the video game, if that helped or hindered how I felt about this. There's a lot of, we'll say, side stuff that happens in the game that becomes very forefront in the movie, and I found it just awkward, and I couldn't tell. I'm like, this part is a very faithful video game adaptation, but this part over here doesn't really fit. And I think it was just the writing where, like, it seems like they wanted to make a movie about a game that they really loved, and they wanted to put everything in there so that everybody could be like, oh my god, they did this thing that I really enjoy. But by putting so much content into this, then it kind of took away from the other things going on that, it has a core a story, and I feel like we got away from that quite a bit. So overall, didn't love it, didn't hate it. I am fairly middle on this, and since I am kind of in the middle, I'm gonna go, let's just go straight down the middle. That's what works best when I'm undecided. So let's do a 2.5. There are certain parts of this I really like, and certain parts that, and my complaints are mostly the writing, and I don't know if it's because I know the video game so well, But that also made me appreciate the parts that were very faithful to the video game, though, too, where I'm like, that is verbatim dialogue. Neat.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. JD,
Yeah.
would you like to hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts while I eat some risotto?
I would absolutely love to do that. I would also like to eat
Excellent.
some risotto, but it's way over there across the city on the internet.
Apricot salmon, risotto, and peas.
Apricot salmon?
Yeah, it's an apricot glaze on salmon. It's delicious.
And it's
Okay.
so it's like with the risotto. It's not in the risotto.
No, it's a piece of fish just on top.
Oh,
But I eat it together. But it's not
gotcha.
like mixed.
I got
Yeah.
you. That's what was
Okay.
confusing me. I took it way too literally.
No, that's
Hey,
food be crazy. Okay, JD,
as
your
somebody
thoughts.
who had never even seen a frame of the video game, didn't know jack about it, my thoughts on this movie are similar to yours, but I still think I liked it more than you did because here's what I will say. You're right. Most of the issues, at least that I have with this movie, are in the script. So the big one for me, I think, is similar. Maybe if I understand what you were saying, and it's that it's the same thing. I have a lot of issues with a lot of video game movies. Is it gets too caught up in recreating the mechanics of the game. Right? And things start to feel very procedural and kind of pull me out of the more sort of bigger picture of what's going on with the story. And I understand why it happens because, again, what they're doing is they're trying, they're adapting, but, you want to appeal to that core audience. That's the reason you're adapting it in the first place, because it has a core audience that has proven this is something worth exploring. Right? And, everybody is enjoying it. So I like the overall story in this. I think the performances in this are fantastic, especially Will Holland and John Adams. I thought were both fantastic in the movie. I think the way this movie was designed, there are specific things that Kip did with his cinematographer that I thought were really clever ways of referencing the first person look of the game and the way it's sort of like a point and click interact with objects kind of game, which I learned after the fact. He does things here visually that I think reference that without recreating it perfectly, because that would be less interesting. And we'll talk about that more in detail in here. I love the gore in this. There was no point where I was like super spooked, or not startled by anything, but I think it's definitely creepy at times. It's a really, really well put together movie. It's just there are things with the story that make it drag at times and disconnect me from it. I was definitely, I'll tell you what, I've been thinking about this all day, because I recently decided that all of my reviews this year are gonna be whole number reviews, right? No fractional skulls. And I've just been thinking all day, like, my enjoyment of this movie, I feel liked it more than the 3, but I don't know if I quite liked it as a 4. So I've had to make some of those determinations. And
JD.
What?
I would propose that you could do it in 0.5 increments.
Well, obviously you could propose that, but I'm a man of my word, and I said whole numbers all year. But no, I think I genuinely found a good way to break the tie, and it's this. Because there are so many things in the movie that I didn't just think were good, that I thought were really great, I'm going up to the 4. If I thought look, Michelle, it was either go up to the 4 or go down to the 3, and I think it's better than the 3. I think if it had just been more, the stuff that I like in the movie, I like more than the average movie, and the stuff that I didn't like wasn't enough to stop me from saying, man, I really fucking liked these other parts of the movie. So I feel like it's fair. I gotta come up somewhere, and so I'm going up to the 4 on this one.
Did not expect that. Even the whole number of a 3 surprised me.
Really?
So, okay.
What did
Yeah.
you think I was going to come in at?
I didn't think you were going to like this at all.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it because of the video game elements of it?
It's because I have complaints about it, but I have a love of the initial property.
Sure.
So I thought that without that love, your complaints about it would be greater than
Yeah.
mine.
You know what, Michelle, before we get into the spoiler section, because I think this is something that we can talk about at least vaguely as well here before we really tear into it. Interesting thing that we did, how I learned a little bit about actually the mechanics of the game and how it works. Uh, Apparently, there are 8 possible endings for the video game. And so
Technically 6 and
6
then 2
endings,
if you fail.
yeah,
Yep.
6 endings and 2 failures, 6 completions.
Yep. Yep.
And so Michelle sent me a link to a YouTube video because I was curious. Cause I just heard, oh, there's 6 different endings for the video game, and I was like, okay, and because I was curious if if there was enough of the game in the movie that I would be able to understand what was happening in the endings. And what I can tell you for certain is I understood exactly what was happening in every one of them. They did, even just from those clips I saw, like they did a really solid job of translating, I think, what I believe the story of the game was into the movie and also the mechanics of the game. So I thought that was super fucking interesting. I also thought it was interesting. Tell me if you agree. It seemed to me that the way they ended this kind of merged together like 2 or 3 of those possible completion endings. Did you get that vibe?
Yes, they did every ending in the movie, and that is one of my complaints.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk
Yep.
about that a little bit more then getting into the spoilers section. So,
Yeah.
if you don't want us to spoil the movie for you, this is where you're going to want to pause until you've seen it and then come back and listen in on what we had to say. Otherwise, Michelle, you know what time it is.
TBI TLDR.
It is TBI TLDR, the never imitated because they know they could never duplicate it, off the cuff super summary of the plot from the lady with a
Who
traumatic
has
brain
a
injury.
short-term memory disorder. Here's the problem with my summary this week is I truly do not remember the things in my head that happened in the game versus the movie because there's a lot of overlap. So if I say something that wasn't in the movie, just go with it, bro. I'm doing my best. This is what the TBI TLDR is all about.
I will refrain from correcting you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So that's Bren. We love you, Bren.
Yeah. So mortuary assistant. We start with a mortuary assistant. Holy shit, I know, right? And she's doing some mortuary assistant stuff. She's got the body. She's putting tubes in it. She's like wiring together that mouth. You know, just typical mortuary assistant boss bitch. And then there's a guy there. His name's Raymond. And Raymond's like, you're satisfactory at best. And she's like, oh no. And then he's like, okay, now you are a full-time mortuary assistant. Good job. We have fulfilled the name of the movie and the video game. And Willa Holland's like, fuck yeah. By the way, my name's Rebecca, not Willa. And Raymond's like, oh, sorry. People call me Paul Sparks all the time. I understand why that gets confusing. So she's like, no problem, bro. So you want me to come work here? And he's like, yeah, but only days. And she's like, I can do nights because I don't drink. What does that mean? You can't just be sober. There's got to be an issue there. And yeah, she's in Alcoholics Anonymous. But he's like, no, bitch, I am a night owl. I do the nights. And she's like, calling me bitch when I just got hired is excessive, but sure, I'll do the days. And then Raymond immediately calls her and he's like, psych, can you come work a night shift? And she's like, oh, yes, I absolutely can because I don't drink and I don't have a social life. And it's a very sad trope that I'm living. And Raymond's like, bro, I get it. And then he hangs up. And then she goes to the mortuary to be an assistant, except she's not an assistant. She's just being the lead mortuary. So then she goes there and she's got the body and she's like, "Hello, body. I'm going to embalm and cremate you." And that's really weird, isn't it? And the body says nothing because he's dead. But she likes to talk to herself, which is also very true to the video game, where she's like, "I'm going to play some music and I'm going to say my thoughts out loud," similar to what Michelle does in her everyday office hours. And the cats do not give a fuck that she is having problems with a coworker over Microsoft Teams because they're having a miscommunication. Anyway, Rebecca doesn't need to worry about that because she's a mortuary assistant and she doesn't have Microsoft Teams with people because they're dead. And then some bonkers shit happens and she's like, "Oh, that's spooky." And Raymond calls and he's like, "Is shit spooky yet?" And she's like, "Yeah, it is." And he's like, "Oh man, there's a demon. You gotta get rid of the demon. Here are some steps in order to do that." And then Rebecca's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then she suddenly winds up at home and she doesn't remember how she gets there. And then her sponsor shows up and she's like, "You got blackout drunk." And Rebecca's like, "No, I didn't." And she's like, "Yes, you did." And Rebecca's like, "Nah." And the sponsor's like, "Yeah." And they go back and forth for a while. So then Rebecca kills her because she got demoned a little bit. But then it turns out that she didn't kill her. Her sponsor's okay. And Raymond calls and he's like, "Bitch, you gotta get back to the mortuary. That's what's in the name of the game and the movie. You can't be at home. It's not the home assistant. It's the mortuary assistant." And Rebecca's like, "Oh shit, you got a really good point there." So she goes back to the mortuary to do more assistant shit. And now she's got to figure out what the demon's all about. And so now in order to find this demon, she's got to face her own demons. And her own demons are that she feels responsible for the death of her father, played by none other than John Adams. Love to see him in a thing. And she's also addicted to alcohol, and that's a problem. And also Raymond is straight up a villain in this, which is very confusing to me because I think it's a little bit more questionable, but we'll come back. I think one of my complaints is that this movie lacks a lot of subtlety and nuance. And then essentially what happens is Rebecca finds out that there's a girl named Valerie locked in a casket downstairs or a box or whatever, and she's possessed, and Raymond's just like taking this girl's juices and making reagents so that they can get rid of demons and other people. So he's taking her juice and putting it in other juice, and then that somehow sciences to make everything okay. And so Rebecca's like, "I can't believe you're doing that." And Raymond's like, "I don't know, bro. I've been trying this a while. This is what I got." And Rebecca's like, "Okay, I get it. Cool. Anyway, I'm going to go burn this demon." And so she does that. And then Raymond's like, "I'm so sorry, but this thing, it knows that you're out there and now it's going to keep coming back." And instead of switching career paths, Rebecca's like, "I just graduated. I do not want to go back to school and become like a baker or something. So I guess I'm going to have to keep working with dead bodies for the rest of my life. And I guess I'm going to become like Raymond's apprentice or something." And while she's questioning this, she walks outside and then sees a really creepy guy. And she's like, "I don't like that." And she turns around and goes back into the building to continue assisting the mortuary assistant.
Yeah.
Is it reagent or regent? Because
No,
I always...
reagent. You were right.
Okay, I always thought it was regent because it's a word I've only ever read before. That's in a lot of video games that I play, regent. And I did not know it was reagent until, and that feels wrong to me. So, okay.
Yeah, it's related to the word reaction.
See, I thought it was when somebody's an agent and they retire, but then somebody shows up on their door and they're like, "We need you back." And they're like, "Okay, I'll do it again." Like Men in Black, like that series. Like those are people. Yeah, you're retired and they have to, and so you're a reagent.
Okay,
doesn't sound like the juice you're taking from a lady and putting in other bodies.
Before I get into anything on here, you said juice way too many times in that.
Yeah, that's because I saw your face and you laughed the first time I'd said juice, so then I just kept saying it.
You gotta stop that.
Oh, okay, I'll stop watching your face to see what parts you're enjoying.
No, you have to stop saying juice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know why.
I wish I had some juice. I just bought some juice. I will have juice after this. Not juice from a lady, though. Raymond, how dare you? Well, JD, what are your thoughts?
Again, the big parts, and interestingly enough, it didn't really get there for me until the big parts of this where it becomes kind of video game procedural. I would say the ones that bothered me the most were mostly contained to about a half an hour. Now, on the flip side, it was the last half an hour, because that's when they get into the part where oh, these weird pieces of paper I found that start themselves on fire. Turns out we use those to look for some of the demon symbols to try and identify what demon we're dealing with. And then we got to walk around and look for the different symbols. And now we have this little device that we have to put the 4 symbols into and then put it. When it got to that part of it and it became very video game mechanical, that's where I came out of it a little bit. Also, there are a few things in the overall progress of the story that are kind of confusing to me. Like, and maybe you can give me some insight on this. At the very beginning, after she finishes her testing or whatever, when she has that first encounter where she's about to go down to the basement because she wants to get some chemicals, and he's down at the bottom of the stairs, aren't his eyes lit up like he's possessed?
Oh, I have no idea.
I seem to remember that his eyes are lit up like he's possessed in that scene, and then he comes upstairs and there's the weird, like, creepy guy, the mimic down there behind him for just a moment. So I was confused about that, because he's obviously, like, the head hunter, not the head hunter, but the head hunter, a hunter of these demon things. And, you know, he is sort of the equivalent of that priest from Dead Alive who's like, I kick ass for the Lord, but he's just like, I kick ass for the mortuary. Do
you want to assist me with kicking ass, Rebecca?
So I was confused by that. I also, maybe I just got distracted. I was confused by specifically who Valerie was. Like, was she also, like, one of his previous assistants, but she got infected by the demon and now he's just got her chained up? Is that what that is?
I don't remember if I want to say it was like his wife or something in the game, or like a daughter, or like somebody who got possessed that was close to him, which could be wrong. It could have been an employee.
Sure.
But once Rebecca learns about that, which isn't even possible until multiple playthroughs, which is why I'm like, this is buried in the game. You can get there if you, like, figure out the puzzles to make it happen, but the chances of you stumbling across it and that's your first ending are very rare, if even possible. Some of those things might not exist there until you have played through it a couple times. But she goes down there and she's like, is this what you were gonna do to me if I became possessed? And he's like, yeah. And so,
oh yeah, I remember that from from one of those video game endings.
I feel I thought it was somebody closer to him because that's partially why he can't let her go, but I don't remember, and the movie, I didn't hear them rehash that, so I was once again like, who is this? And I don't remember.
Yeah, and then the other thing, which I imagine is part of what you alluded to with the fact that they managed to get all of the endings in, I did feel like the ending of this was rather anticlimactic. Because we've accomplished all the things, and then there's just, I don't even mind that it was the exposition scene, right? But the exposition scene is the last scene of the movie. And I feel like there's a way you could have written this so that that scene and happens before the big climactic ending, right? But then it's like, from a narrative perspective, these are all things that he has to explain to her after she survives. You know, I think you could have turned that into an, if you survive, this is the way it's gonna be, somewhere earlier. But that was also it took away from this for me a little bit. I felt like there was this crescendo, and then very much like perhaps The Lord of the Rings, the ending just kind of kept going a little bit more than I would have liked.
Oh, you thought the ending went too long? I thought you were just saying it was too short and it came after the climactic part.
No, like, they get to that, like, all that stuff happens, and then they spend that whole time where he's, like, explaining to her, you can't,
I understand.
Can't run away from this, it's going to be following you. Like that.
I was thinking in my head of how they could have fixed it, and then I convinced myself that's what you had just said, because they definitely could have. In the game, there's a lot less Raymond. He's there in the endings, and he's there right in the beginning testing her, but he does not show up to tell her what is going on. She finds cassette tapes and he calls her and he's locked her in the mortuary and
Okay.
he's like, this is what you have to do and here are the details. And so this does end faithfully to the video game, where it's just like,
Yeah.
here's an explanation and it's done. But they definitely could have swapped it, given how much other stuff they changed. Like, she does not leave the mortuary. They could have swapped it and did more of a, this is adapted for a movie now, because when he's calling her to give her this information, he could have included that
Yeah.
as part of it. I don't know. I don't think it would have to be at the end. It's just how it is in the game, because that's how they have to wrap things up. You don't just fight a demon and then go home. I mean, she does, because this is her job now. But generally speaking, movie-wise or video game-wise.
So those were my big issues with the script, and not even the story, specifically the scripting of the story, right, is where I had a lot of trouble here, because I did find the story rather compelling. I thought the ideas here were really interesting. I think it just, I think maybe because the creator of the video game was involved with the writing, maybe because this was a first feature screenplay for both people involved, that maybe it just has some evidence of that. Maybe got a little too caught up in trying to be faithful to the game in certain ways, especially with again with the ending. You seem to be a little bit more troubled by the story than I was overall, Michelle. What else about it, like that we haven't already talked about, was an issue for you as somebody who knew the game?
So first question, because I was trying to think if this is in the movie, but he's basically just like, you're gonna get possessed, you have to fight off this thing in the movie. It's not a general, I don't think, a general, like, the longer you stay in there working on this body, the more you're gonna become possessed. Is that correct? He's just like, this thing's gonna possess you?
Yeah, if I remember correctly from the movie, after she goes unconscious or whatever, and then wakes up back at her own apartment, and he calls, so he tells her, you have to get back to the mortuary because that's the only place you're going to be able to handle this safely. And then I think what it is not so much a you're gonna be. I think it's a matter of he's probably going to take over from time to time, and that it might become not necessarily more frequent, but just that, like, almost more of a, like, you're not going to become more susceptible to it, but like it's going to periodically get you no matter what you do. Or something to that effect. I would have to go back and watch it again to get the specifics, but I don't. I guess what I should say is I don't really remember well enough to say exactly.
Here's what I can say. Whether they spell it out in the way that they do in the game, he says essentially, like, you're going to want to do this as quickly as possible, because the longer you're in there, the more possessed you're going to become. And you can do a test by just scribbling on a piece of paper and see if you start drawing anything fucked up. And that's how you know you have more time left. So as the game goes on, it starts with very small things, like a window closing, the corpse's hand falling off the tray, with, like, which we saw those moments in here. But they start very overt at the same time. Like, within the first half hour, she's killed a person, even though it is just a hallucination. But we've also seen that corpse with the big scary smile, like, turn its head to the camera. All that stuff starts so upfront that I feel like it took me out of it, because then it was just constantly, like, at a 10. You know, of like, this stuff is just like maximum spooky immediately. And what really worked and got under my skin when I was watching the game, and I've seen multiple playthroughs of it from different people because I do like the game, but it's also not my, like, I don't want to play it. You know, I'll put it on in another screen while I play a video game that I would enjoy. And I will watch other people play this one, and I enjoy watching them. Anyway, the whole thing, I got thoughts about it. But it starts so subtle, of just like the smallest thing happens, and then you're on alert for those small things, because you're also like, did I just see something or am I freaking myself out? And there's a lot of that. And then it builds to become these huge moments. Like there's one, they call them events. One event can happen where like you're working on the body and all of a sudden it reaches up and just grabs you and starts like yelling at you. The first time she's in the mortuary, she just hears a voice whisper, "You're gonna die." And then she turns around to Raymond and she's like, "What was that?" And he's like, "I didn't say anything." Like it's these tiny moments that put you on edge. And I think that with that ramp up, I would have liked this a lot more, but it just goes 0 to 100 immediately. And I could have preferred, like, I will never tell you I prefer a slower burn, but they lit the house on fire.
You think so?
Yeah, I
That's,
think they went there real quick.
I mean, I do agree that it was a little bit more quickly paced than a lot of things that I've seen like this. I didn't get the impression though that it was moving too quickly, and I can see what you're saying, but I felt like it still had a progression into more and more significant spookery and splattery and all the I like it does come off to a quick start. But then I felt like we reeled back a bit. We got into some of the character development, the backstories, that sort of stuff. But that's interesting. I guess I didn't have a problem with that pacing at all.
Yeah, it felt like a roller coaster of we start and we go up the top really quick and she kills her sponsor and now we're back at the bottom and now we're getting this backstory and now we're going up a second hill and by the time I'm like, I want to get off the ride. I'm good.
I wonder if that's connected to you having seen the game and being
Exactly.
expectation.
And that's why I thought my love of the game would translate to me enjoying this more than you. But it sounds like it might have clouded my judgment a little bit. I'm just saying, like, it's possible that, like, things that you liked, I'm like, oh, well, it's different. I was expecting something that I didn't get, and unfortunately going in with those biases can affect.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I thought so many parts of this, I was like, that is verbatim what's in the game. Like, that's brilliant. What I could have used is ending number 3, which is Rebecca gets possessed, and then she takes Raymond, floats him in the air, and bends him into a little bloody cube. That was my favorite ending. Could have used him getting bent into a little cube.
I did really enjoy that. This occurs to me that I'm going to have to remember to put a spoiler alert at the beginning of this episode for the video game as well.
Oh,
we're just out here talking
debating
about
it.
all the details of all the endings. I think it's fair to put
I was going to say, if
warning.
they've seen this movie, I know. We can put the warning, but also, like, this one feels very safe because it's identical.
Well, there is I was going to... Oh, okay, so before I ask any more questions, other things about the story that didn't work for you?
I just found it odd. I think it's okay. This is what I'm gonna equate it to, and everybody's gonna get real mad about it. the Mean Girls remake. It is so faithful to the original that when it deviates very hard, and it becomes very like abrasive and off-putting. And I think that's what happened with this. Is that when it changed things, I was like, why did you do it that way though? Like it was so like verbatim at certain parts of like the speeches and stuff. So then it's just like when I'm already in the mode of like, wow, this is gonna be like identical, then it's not, and those big moments just unsettled me, I guess is a way to put it. Sure. Still mad about the Mean Girls remake because it's very uncomfortable as somebody who has watched Mean Girls a lot and could probably quote 90% of that movie. I know when the dialogue changed. I know when they suddenly stopped being word for word from the original. And it's some bizarre choices, but I do love the Halloween song. Okay, JD, the mortuary assistant.
No, so I understand exactly what you're talking about there, and I think that's exactly right. Like, it's the context of you being aware of the game definitely changes expectation, right? Just because you're going to know immediately where the changes are. And I agree with you, like, I obviously didn't have it here, but I've had that exact experience where something is so faithful to the point of being almost just like a direct recreation, and then there'll be just a moderate, like the one that jumps out to my mind immediately is in, I want to say it was 98 or 99, when Gus Van Sant made his remake. I think it was Gus Van Sant made his remake of Psycho, which was literally like as close as you could get, like a shot for shot remake of Psycho. But then there were little things like in the shower scene, and I guess spoiler alert on the shower scene from Psycho. But it's all there. You got Norman Bates peeping through the hole at the lady, I forget the character's name, in the shower. Everything is basically identical, framed and designed shots, except in the new version, it's very, very obvious that Norman Bates is masturbating. And it's like, why?
Putting the Bates in masturbation.
Like, why? Like, we all understood, right? Nobody needed to be like, oh shit, yeah, he's not just watching. Look, we all know he wasn't just watching her, all right? But why go to such pains to recreate everything? And then have those small details. And again, I probably wouldn't have had that experience if I hadn't seen the original first. So I think this is kind of obviously a case of, whether you had preferred it or liked it less than me, I think it's a clear-cut case of just expectations and how that context changes experiences.
Yep. But in the case of Return to Silent Hill, and even if I didn't know the video game, I would have been mad.
So I do have some more questions for you based on some of the things you said. You mentioned that there are some things in the game that are more just like smaller side things that are blown up into bigger proportions in the movie. What kind of stuff are we talking about there? I'm very curious.
The father thing is a lot more subtle. I think it's like ending number 5 where you can like make amends with him.
Right.
In this big like conversation that essentially happens in the movie. It is not a very thick thread throughout the rest of it. It focuses more on Rebecca, her troubles, her alcoholism. A lot of her flashbacks are like back to her apartment, and you're exploring that and stuff. And we don't get these like, there were a lot of memory sequences about what happened between her and her dad that are not in the game.
Okay.
It's more like you can explore to figure out some things, but that's also one of those where like translating that from a game to a movie, it does become more obvious because you can't expect people to like catch a glimpse of a thing and see like 2 sobriety coins and like one's hers, one's her father's, like that kind of thing happens more. It's more that the Valerie thing is a thing you can't discover right away. And because of that, like Raymond comes off evil immediately. And I think that was more like that. I think is one of the really big things is Raymond doesn't seem like a bad guy to me in the game. He seems like a troubled guy who is doing what he has to, but he seems like menacing almost like from the jump of like, this is what you got to do. So sorry. Like he just seems like kind of, just like not straightforward because that would be fine. It's just like, yeah, go ahead, JD. Do you have the word for it?
No, I was just going to say that's so interesting to me because I was going to say, in trying not to be disrespectful, but of the major characters in the movie, I found Raymond to be kind of the most tepid. Like, he knows the most, but I would say I didn't find him, like, threatening. Here's what I will say. I wouldn't say I found him threatening. I did have an expectation that he was going to be more of a villain than he turned out to be. I did feel like it was pushing in that direction a little bit, which is why I asked about at the beginning, like, were his eyes glowing like he was possessed? So I'm not sure there, but that's wild. And again, I imagine that comes from the game, right?
Yeah, because it's not like knowing that Valerie is locked downstairs. You're just doing your job, and you could play the game start to finish and have no idea like where this reagent is coming from. It's just a thing that you have to use. So I think that's, again, one of those things where I'm just like, oh, they're just making him overtly, like, evil. And he's doing, like, he talks to her on the phone, and I can't remember what he does, like, but he just broods for a while, and we watched that for a little bit, and I'm like, I would have preferred some subtlety in it, some more of a betrayal when she discovers Valerie and confronts him. And that it would have been more of a surprise, because we are now suspicious of him, whereas in the game I wasn't very suspicious. I was like, this is a guy who's like, sorry, you have to do this alone. Here's the stuff to do it. Good luck. Like, you just have to do it. And I can't talk to you on the phone to give you more hints and stuff because you can't trust the phones. Don't answer the phone. I'm giving you the info that you can have right at the beginning, and you have to do this alone.
Well, and I think you just said the key word there, which is that we both found him suspicious, but you found him more suspicious than a previous reference point that I didn't have. Right? Yeah. So
it's because I knew, like, oh, they're going to make Valerie very central. Because I was like, if you're doing this, like, you're going to make Valerie, like, a much bigger piece of this, which is a good direction to have Valerie in here. I just would have preferred more of a surprise of that reveal.
Yeah, I do like the idea that if the game has all this extra stuff that's there and you can experience it, but you can also get to the end of the game without ever even knowing it's there. I do like the idea that in an adaptation they try to bring all of that into the story, because that's something that I hate about a lot of video games, that there are parts of them that are just hidden, and you may go through, like, Michelle, do you have any idea how long it was before I knew there were invisible blocks that you could hit and make appear in Super Mario Brothers? Oh, no. I probably played that game for a year before I hit the first one accidentally.
Which is very funny, because
bad.
The first Mario game is used as perfect game design of how you teach somebody to play the game without making them go through a tutorial of, like, you're either going to press this button to jump over the turtle or you're going to get killed by the turtle. Okay, you figured out how to jump. Now you're going to see a block, and what happens if you hit it? And now at this point, if you perfectly time the jump as you're supposed to, you're going to automatically hit the invisible block, and you're going to know about these now. And the fact that it didn't work on you is very funny to me.
Shut up.
It's just interesting of, like, here's how great this intro is. No tutorial. People are not familiar with video games. They don't have a concept of hit A to jump. We have to teach them without giving them a tutorial. Here's how it's going to work on everybody except JD Provorst.
Look, I even more embarrassed. Do you know how long it was before I figured out you could go down pipes? Do you know how long it was?
That one... That's not embarrassing. You don't, like, see another dude do it, and you wouldn't think, like, you can pew, pew, pew into a pipe and go to, like, a da-da-da-da-da-da world.
And then, of course, the biggest one is, like, how was I even supposed to think, oh, it would be possible to jump up onto the top of the screen and go across there and find a whole nother room where there are all these other pipes that have... And then, of course, this is the crazy part. I found the warp zone before I knew how to go down the pipes. So I would just get in there. The first one is in World War 1, 2.
Yeah.
At the end, you jump up on top and you go over, and there's just a room with 3 pipes, and you can go down one of them to pick. I didn't know how to go down pipes. I found the warp zone. That's how much I was terrible at learning how to play games, Michelle.
Did you think it glitched and then turned off your Nintendo?
No, I just had no idea what I was supposed to do.
But did you sit there and you, like, press stuff until you figured out you could go down pipes? How did you get out of that situation is my question. Did you figure out how to go down pipes once you found the warp room?
No.
Oh, but that's what I mean. Did you just turn off the game?
Yeah.
Okay. I was curious, like, is that what taught you
to go down a pipe? This is why I don't play video games, Michelle. I've never had an instinct for them at all.
I don't have a lot more to say about the Mortuary system, but I have to say I just started playing Dispatch last night, and it's fucking great.
So what I do want to talk about is, I mentioned from a production standpoint, especially, like, the visual elements of this movie, that, god damn it, you're eating that risotto again, and now I'm getting hungry.
It's so cold.
I bet it's still delicious. But no, from a visual standpoint, a couple of things that didn't register right. I mean, I enjoyed them just because I thought they were very stylish and obviously like things that were thematic throughout the way the movie was shot. But then seeing footage from the game and sort of being able to sort of like one of the things, there are a lot of shots like when she's pushing the bodies around on the carts, where in the video game that's a first person perspective where you're on the push end of the cart watching the cart go forward. On this, we're down at the foot of the cart looking at her face, so it's sort of a first person in reverse, and it's still mimicking that experience of like a first person in the game, how the camera sort of sways from side to side. Sort of, it just, I really enjoyed the way that, and the other one is there's so many shots in this movie where we're focusing on an item and the action is happening around it. The most prominent one that comes to mind is the tape deck in the mortuary room, right, in the embalming room. There's that beautiful shot where the tape deck is like right up in the foreground and everything's kind of blurry around it, and you see her walk around and put the tape into the... There are a lot of things that sort of reference that experience in the game of finding an object, and then the interaction with that object is the central focus of what's happening. And I thought that was really fucking creative, just the visual design of this and sort of the look of things I really appreciated. I also loved the gore in this. I thought it was restrained but really effective.
Before I watched it, I kept seeing the big spooky guy on a bunch of promo images. I was like, that's going to be the big spooky guy in the movie? That sucks. And I was not happy about it. And I gotta say, the reveal of the spooky guy at the end, just standing there chittering, great.
Yeah.
I very rarely say, like, show me the monster. I say it's so much better to imagine it, because people, like, they do the weirdest shit that they're like, oh, they're going to be real spooked out by this. And then we're not. It's disappointing. Let my imagination go crazy. The way that guy's just standing there chittering, oh,
yeah, really,
like one of the few times I liked seeing the guy.
And I obviously I can't say for certain, but just looking at it, I feel like it was... Like, I don't believe it was entirely practical, but it looks like it was a good blend, like, which I think rarely happens. But a very good blend of practical with a little digital manipulation that I thought looked really, really fucking good. Again, like, I really enjoyed the gore on this. But what I really, really liked, and it's not something I've never seen before, but it's a thing in horror that I particularly like, is obviously in horror movies they try to distract you by things, and then maybe something happens in the background that's all spooky or whatnot. What I like, there are several moments, several points in this movie where the thing that's distracting us from the spooky shit going on in the background is the fucking sick gore going on up in the foreground. And I did, like I said, I don't think this was a movie that was trying to be super startling in any way. I think it was going for more of like just a real spooky kind of creepy vibe. And I thought it developed that atmosphere really well. Even like right down to that first toe flinch in the mortuary, in the embalming room or whatever, in that opening scene. It was one of those things that happened, and I had, and I know you hate that I do this, but I immediately had to like pause and go back a few seconds. I was like, did that fucking toe move? And of course it did. I thought it did a really good job of building those moments while also being sort of just splattery enough, right? And then another element that it took me a minute to catch on, but there are so many like fucking Evil Dead vibes in this. It's like Evil Dead in a mortuary in certain ways. But there are also, like, I really enjoyed and found it really effective. It reminded me in ways of Mike Flanagan's Oculus, in the way that we're experiencing the illusion with the characters, right? And also reminiscent of, and I think it's just because I saw it recently, a certain French film that I won't name, because that element of it is kind of a mystery in that film. Whereas Oculus, you learn pretty quickly that we are not always seeing what's happening. But
Is that a spoiler? No, I guess
not for
that's what
Oculus.
the
That's
Oculus.
that. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's what.
There are certain big moments that I was
Sure.
like, but it's okay.
Maybe
no,
I'll
it's
put
fine.
another spoiler warning in.
No, I don't think you need one. I was just thinking, I was like, but no, the whole point of the mirror, the laser glass, is that it makes you hallucinate.
Right.
So I was like, nope, you learned that immediately. Never mind.
But yeah, just in the way that she's like, we get these scenes. The one that really drove it home is the scene where we see it looks like her dad is stabbing the fuck out of her leg with that scalpel, and then of course we cut out and she's doing it to herself. I thought that was really effective, really skillfully handled. I thought the atmosphere and the execution of everything here was really solid. Just some things in the story and the way or not even the story, but the way the script played out, that unfortunately got in the way for me.
I'm just curious to know if I would have liked it or disliked it more without knowing the video game.
That's
we'll never know.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles, Michelle.
Mm-hmm. I also had super low expectations though, because I have seen some video game adaptations that I did not enjoy. But I've also seen some that I loved, and I've seen those that stay very faithful to the initial property, and those that deviate greatly but are still fine and like cool. I'm glad that they elaborated on this. So I went in with low expectations, so it at least met my low expectations, and that's good. That's all we can ever hope for, right?
Hey.
It exceeded my expectations, which were very low, but that's okay. Like, this could be a 5-skull movie, and I could just say I had low expectations that were met.
That's the rule of life. Hope for the best, but expect the worst.
Oh, I hope for the worst, and then when I get the worst, I'm like, hell yeah, I love being right. And when I don't get the worst, I'm like, oh man, I'm wrong, but that means that I got the best instead, so either way, I'm a winner. I hope so and expect weird. For the worst at all times, and then you're prepared. This is what anxiety is. It's just preparing for the worst. What?
Trauma dumping.
Yeah, listen, I'm a little bit broken, but I'm in therapy about it. It's not going very well. I stressed out about the lady who was mean to me at the movie theater for 2 weeks before I finally let that thought go, and yet I didn't, because now we're on day 14, or like day 16, and I just thought of her again, so.
Yeah, you just lost the therapy game.
Going great. Yeah, I just lost the oh no, I've been losing the therapy game for a long time.
You and me both, sister.
That's why I graduated therapy like 10 years ago. She was like, you're good, you know, self-coping skills, call me if you want to set up more appointments, but you're good, you're managing really well, and now I'm back in therapy. Because as you age, you have new experiences that add to the horror that is your life. And then you have to figure out how to deal with those, because they're different horrors than what was going on in your early 20s. Now you're mid-30s, and there's other things that you didn't even think of 10 years ago.
You know that t-shirt, Michelle, that says the horrors persist, but so do I?
Yes.
I want one that's just slightly different, because it changes the potential implications. I want one that says the horrors persist, and so do I. Not implying that it's a act of rebellion in any way or an act of resistance. It's just
you might be one of the horrors.
Those two.
I'm
no, not even that.
Them.
Just like those two things are happening at the same time. Yes, I'm still statement. Here, and yes, it's still horrible.
Yes.
Is it good that I'm still here? Is it bad that I'm still here? We're not evaluating here. We're just stating the facts, just the facts.
Just the facts. Manifesting reality that I will become a ghost. That's a fact. That's my tulpa.
Oh.
See, I came back to it.
Full circle.
Full circled.
All right. Yep. Well,
Okay.
Next
Well,
week, what are we doing next week? Deathstalker. Have you
finally.
seen the original, Michelle?
No. I was debating watching it, but I also, after my experience with the mortuary assistant, I'm scared that I'll have the initial property in my head and be like, why did you change this? Which is
Oh,
great because I have a short-term memory disorder, and yet I
Michelle,
knew too much about the game for this. I
I
know the general gist of the initial Stalker, and I know they can't get worse than that. I know.
I was
I've heard.
gonna say
I've heard.
there's no way.
But
Uh,
I'm a huge Steven Kostansky fangirl, so I'm
yeah,
still like I need to
I am
set that
very
man up
looking
for
forward.
success. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
He can do no
actually,
wrong.
we'll have the Michelle in review before we get to that. Now that I think about it.
Yes, and I have things that I watched and can talk about.
Yeah. Oh,
I read a
also,
couple books.
by the way, guys, if you were curious about our thoughts on She Loved Blossoms More, which was originally going to be our 350th episode, we will be talking about that. Not in obviously as much depth as we would on a normal episode, but we will be talking about that on the Michelle and Reviews, so you'll get our thoughts there.
And if you don't care what our thoughts are,
You're gonna
don't
get them
tune into Michelle in
anyway.
Review. Yeah, like what are you doing here? Like glad you showed up, but what you doing? You could be doing something else.
They're
Why
just
you here just having a bad time?
several of them are just waiting for the next time I say that I wish Donald Trump would die.
Oh no, we're gonna get messages
Oh
again.
no, 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 no.
After going slightly viral for a post that nobody understood, it has really like helped my anxiety when it comes to online interactions, because before I would read like the comments on a news article and feel my heart beating faster, and now I'm just like, oh yeah, most of the people online are dumb, and that's really nice that helped desensitize
Wait,
me.
wait, wait. It is 2026 and you are just figuring out that most of the people on the internet are dumb?
I grew up with the internet, and I started the internet where I was just surrounded by my peers on Facebook, so I knew that they were real people who mostly didn't suck. And now, with the joy of social media, I get to hear the thoughts from strangers constantly, because that is what the internet has become. And so my circle has expanded, and I don't like it very much. I miss when social media didn't have news comments. I don't like the thoughts of most people out there.
I think what we really mean, Michelle, is man, I miss when I wasn't addicted to social media.
Yeah, but the TikToks are so good. I watched one today of a dog just stuffing a cat into a couch, which sounds horrifying, but it's like a gigantic mastiff and a Maine Coon, and the Maine Coon is just in between the cushions of the couch, and the dog is just pushing the cat in there more, and the cat's fine with it. He's just like, whatever, this
Right.
is my life.
You're gonna have to look
And
for
because of that, like, wow, I'm so glad that we made such massive technological advancements to have the internet and all of the great things that come alongside it with like e-commerce, which is, convenient but also killing the planet. Like, it's so great that we reached this point so that I can watch this dog stuff a cat into a couch.
It is, fucking Louis Armstrong said it. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
And yet the horrors persist.
And so do I.
And so do I.
All right.
Well,
We got to wrap this up because we got to record our first Spooktober episode
yeah.
here in a little while, but I got to watch a whole movie before we do that.
And I'm going to destroy my office further.
Teaser, teaser, Spooktober's coming back this year.
Maybe, unless we do what we did last year and just say fuck it after recording 7 episodes.
Well, Michelle, my mom isn't going to die again and get in the way.
Listen,
Drink,
we're
my
talking about
mom's
how
dead.
horrific things could be, and like in 2026
Okay,
they're like,
you
oh,
know
all the
what?
people you love
Fair.
come back
Fair.
and unexpectedly die again. Like, it's gonna be Pet Cemetery,
Fair.
where you're just like, oh no, Why is this a thing? I never thought I would live to see a modern pandemic, so at this point, I'm just desensitized to all the things out there where they're like, hey, everybody who's buried, they're alive now. Despite being embalmed and it being impossible for their body, they're all just alive now. Not in a zombie way. They're just down there yelling. And good luck sleeping tonight with that knowledge. Also, they can't starve to death or dehydrate to death. They just live there now. And we have a team of people who have to go to all the cemeteries and dig up these people who are now rotten and they can't die. And this is just what they live as now. And if that happens in 2026, I'm gonna be like, I fucking knew it.
I mean, what a wonderful world.
Yeah, horrors do persist.
All right, well,
okay.
Fuck it. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Ugh, good night, Michelle.